Emma Novak always knew she was different. At 17, she possessed an uncanny ability to sense when people were lying, a talent that made her both admired and avoided by her peers at Westfield High. Little did she know that this gift would soon thrust her into the heart of a cosmic conspiracy that would shake the very foundations of human civilization. It all began on a crisp autumn morning, as Emma hurried through the crowded hallways of her school. The air buzzed with excitement over the upcoming presidential election, with heated debates echoing from every corner. Emma, however, found herself oddly disconnected from the fervor. Something about the candidates' promises rang hollow in her ears, triggering that familiar twinge in her gut that screamed lies. As she rounded the corner to her locker, Emma collided with Jamie Chen, her best friend since kindergarten. Jamie's eyes were wide with excitement, his tablet clutched tightly in his hands. "Emma, you've got to see this," he exclaimed, thrusting the device in front of her face. The screen displayed a grainy video of what appeared to be a secret meeting between world leaders. The footage was shaky and dark, but Emma could make out familiar faces: the US President, the British Prime Minister, and several other prominent figures. What caught her attention, however, was the strange, shimmering quality to their skin, almost as if it were rippling. "It's probably just some elaborate hoax," Emma said, trying to sound dismissive. But that nagging feeling in her gut told her otherwise. Jamie shook his head vehemently. "No way. This was leaked by an anonymous source claiming to be a former government insider. They're saying that all world leaders are actually aliens in disguise." Emma couldn't help but laugh. "Come on, Jamie. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Aliens running our governments? That's straight out of a bad sci-fi movie." But as the day wore on, Emma found herself unable to shake the unsettling feeling that had taken root in her mind. The video, as absurd as it seemed, had stirred something within her. It was as if a veil had been lifted, revealing a truth she had always sensed but never fully acknowledged. After school, Emma decided to do some digging of her own. She spent hours scouring the internet, following leads and connecting dots that she had previously overlooked. The more she researched, the more she began to see patterns emerging: unexplained phenomena, mysterious disappearances, and inexplicable leaps in technology that seemed to coincide with major political shifts. As the clock struck midnight, Emma sat back in her chair, her mind reeling from the implications of what she had discovered. Could it really be true? Were the leaders of the world not human at all, but extraterrestrial beings orchestrating some grand cosmic plan? The next morning, Emma arrived at school early, determined to share her findings with Jamie. She found him in the library, hunched over a stack of conspiracy theory books. "I knew you'd come around," he said with a grin as she approached. Emma rolled her eyes but couldn't suppress a smile. "I'm not saying I believe it," she clarified, "but I think there might be something to this whole alien theory. The evidence is compelling." As they pored over Jamie's books and Emma's online research, they began to piece together a timeline of events that seemed to support the outlandish claim. Unexplained lights in the sky coinciding with major political summits, strange energy signatures detected near government buildings, and subtle physical anomalies observed in world leaders during high-stress situations. "We need to get closer," Emma said suddenly, her eyes gleaming with determination. "If we want to uncover the truth, we can't just rely on second-hand information and grainy videos." Jamie looked at her skeptically. "What are you suggesting? That we break into the White House or something?" Emma shook her head. "No, nothing that drastic. But the governor is giving a speech at the state capitol next week. We could start there, try to get a closer look." And so a plan was hatched. Over the next few days, Emma and Jamie prepared meticulously for their covert operation. They studied the layout of the Capitol building, memorized security protocols, and even created fake press passes using Jamie's impressive computer skills. The day of the governor's speech arrived, and Emma felt a mix of excitement and trepidation as she and Jamie approached the Capitol. Their fake credentials held up under scrutiny, and soon they found themselves in the press area, mere feet away from where the governor would be speaking. As the governor took the stage, Emma focused intently, her gift for detecting lies on high alert. At first, everything seemed normal, the usual political rhetoric and carefully crafted promises. But then, as the governor became more impassioned in his speech, Emma noticed something strange. For just a fraction of a second, the governor's skin seemed to ripple, much like in the video Jamie had shown her. It was so quick that Emma thought she might have imagined it, but a glance at Jamie confirmed that he had seen it too. Heart pounding. Emma leaned in closer, straining to catch any other signs of the governor's true nature. As she did so, she accidentally bumped into a stern-looking man in a dark suit. He turned to glare at her, and Emma felt a chill run down her spine. There was something off about his eyes. Before she could process what she had seen, the man's hand clamped down on her arm. "I think you and your friend need to come with me," he said in a low, menacing tone. Panic surged through Emma. As she realized they had been caught, she looked desperately at Jamie, who seemed frozen in fear. In that moment, Emma made a split-second decision. She stomped hard on the man's foot and yelled, "Run!" Chaos erupted in the press area as Emma and Jamie bolted for the exit. They could hear shouts and footsteps behind them as they raced through the corridors of the Capitol building. Emma's mind was racing, trying to remember the escape route they had planned. They burst through a side door into the bright sunlight, gasping for air. "This way," Jamie shouted, pulling Emma towards a crowded farmer's market across the street. They weaved through the throngs of people, hoping to lose their pursuers in the crowd. As they ran, Emma's mind was reeling from what she had witnessed. The governor's rippling skin, the strange man's inhuman eyes, it all pointed to one incredible, terrifying conclusion. The conspiracy theory was true. Aliens were indeed walking among us, controlling our governments from the highest levels. After what felt like hours of running and hiding, Emma and Jamie finally felt safe enough to slow down. They found themselves in a small park on the outskirts of the city, both struggling to catch their breath and process what had just happened. "Did you see it?" Emma asked between gasps. "The governor's skin," it rippled. Jamie nodded, his face pale. "And that guy who grabbed you? His eyes were all wrong, like not human wrong." They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of their discovery settling over them. "What do we do now?" Jamie finally asked, his voice small and uncertain. Emma took a deep breath, her mind racing with possibilities. "We can't just sit on this information," she said firmly. "We need to expose the truth, but we have to be smart about it. If we go public now, it will be dismissed as crazy conspiracy theorists or worse, silenced by whoever's behind this." Jamie nodded in agreement. "So what's the plan?" "We need more evidence," Emma replied, her eyes glinting with determination. Irrefutable proof that even the most skeptical person couldn't ignore. "And we need to find others who might be onto this. There have to be more people out there who suspect the truth." As they began to formulate a plan, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that their lives had irrevocably changed. They were now at the center of a cosmic conspiracy, with the fate of humanity potentially resting on their shoulders. Over the next few weeks, Emma and Jamie threw themselves into their investigation with renewed vigor. They set up an encrypted online forum to connect with other conspiracy theorists and potential whistleblowers, carefully vetting each person to ensure they weren't being monitored by the alien-controlled government. Their network slowly grew, and with it, their pool of evidence. They received anonymous tips about strange occurrences at military bases, unexplained energy surges near government buildings, and even a few blurry photos that seemed to show world leaders in various stages of what could only be described as transformation. But their most significant breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Late one night, as Emma was sifting through a mountain of data, she received a message from a user calling themselves Stargazer 42. The message contained a single line: "The truth lies in the stars. Meet me at the old observatory tomorrow at midnight." Emma's heart raced as she read the cryptic message. Could this be the break they'd been waiting for? She immediately contacted Jamie, and together they debated the risks of meeting this mysterious informant. "It could be a trap," Jamie warned, his voice laced with concern. "What if the aliens have discovered what we're doing?" Emma considered this possibility but ultimately shook her head. "We've been careful, Jamie, and this might be our only chance to get some real answers. We have to take the risk." The next night, Emma and Jamie found themselves standing at the base of the long-abandoned Hillcrest Observatory. The dilapidated structure loomed above them, a silent sentinel against the star-studded sky. As they approached the entrance, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Just as they reached the door, a figure emerged from the shadows, causing both teens to jump. "I'm glad you came," said a soft, feminine voice. The woman stepped into the moonlight, revealing a face that seemed both young and impossibly old at the same time. "My name is Lyra." And I have much to tell you. Lyra led them inside the observatory, navigating the dusty corridors with practiced ease. As they climbed the stairs to the main telescope room, she began to speak. I've been watching you two for some time now. Your quest for the truth is admirable, but you've only scratched the surface of what's really going on. They reached the top of the tower, where the massive telescope stood as a silent witness to countless celestial secrets. Lyra walked over to a control panel and began pressing buttons. To Emma and Jamie's amazement, the old machinery whirred to life, the dome creaking open to reveal the night sky. What you've discovered about the alien presence on Earth is true, Lyra continued, adjusting the telescope. But it's far more complex than a simple invasion or infiltration. The aliens you've seen, the ones posing as world leaders, they're not the real threat. Emma and Jamie exchanged glances, their minds reeling from this new information. What do you mean? Emma asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Lyra gestured for them to look through the telescope. As Emma peered into the eyepiece, she gasped. The stars seemed to shift and move, revealing what looked like massive structures floating in the void of space. What you're seeing are ancient space stations, Lyra explained. They've been there for millennia, hidden from Earth's view by advanced cloaking technology. The aliens on Earth are refugees, the last survivors of a long-dead civilization that once spanned the galaxy. Jamie took his turn at the telescope, his eyes wide with wonder. But why are they here? Why take over our governments? Lyra's expression turned grim. Because something is coming. Something that wiped out their civilization and countless others. They've been preparing Earth, subtly guiding our technological and social development, to face a threat that we couldn't possibly comprehend. Emma felt a chill run down her spine. What kind of threat? We don't know exactly, Lyra admitted. But the aliens call it the Void. It's some kind of cosmic force that consumes entire galaxies, leaving nothing but darkness in its wake. Earth is the last line of defense, the final battleground in a war that's been raging across the universe for eons. The three of them stood in silence for a moment, the weight of this revelation settling over them like a heavy blanket. Emma's mind was racing, trying to process the enormity of what she had just learned. The conspiracy she and Jamie had uncovered was just the tip of an iceberg that stretched across the cosmos. How do you know all this? Jamie finally asked, turning to Lyra with a mix of awe and suspicion. Lyra smiled sadly. Because I'm one of them. One of the last of my kind, tasked with monitoring Earth's progress and ensuring that the plan stays on track. Emma took an involuntary step back, her gift for detecting lies working overtime. But to her surprise, she sensed no deception from Lyra. Either the alien was an incredibly skilled liar, or she was telling the truth. Why are you telling us this? Emma asked, her voice trembling slightly. Why now? Lyra's gaze turned intense. Because time is running out. The Void is approaching faster than we anticipated, and Earth isn't ready. The plan is failing, and we need help, human help. You two have shown remarkable ingenuity and determination in uncovering our existence. We believe you might be the key to saving not just Earth, but the entire universe. Jamie let out a nervous laugh. We're just high school students. How are we supposed to save the universe? Your fresh perspective, your ability to think outside the box, these are qualities that we desperately need, Lyra explained. Our civilization became stagnant, set in its ways. That's part of why we fell to the Void. Humanity's adaptability, your capacity for innovation in the face of adversity, these might be the crucial factors in turning the tide. Emma's mind was reeling with questions. But what about the world leaders? The ones we saw transforming? Lyra nodded. They are what we call hybrids, humans who have volunteered to merge with alien consciousness to better guide Earth's development. It's not a perfect system, and there have been complications. Some have abused their power, losing sight of the greater mission. That's part of why we need you to help us course correct. As Emma and Jamie tried to process this information, a low rumble shook the observatory. Lyra's expression turned grave. We don't have much time. The others will have detected my unauthorized use of this facility. You need to make a choice now. Will you help us save humanity and the universe, or will you walk away and try to forget what you've learned? Emma and Jamie looked at each other, a silent communication passing between them. They had started this journey seeking the truth, and now that truth was staring them in the face, more fantastic and terrifying than they could have ever imagined. What exactly would we be doing? Emma asked, her voice steadier than she felt. Lyra's eyes gleamed with a mix of hope and urgency. You would become our agents on Earth, working to unite humanity and prepare them for the coming battle. You'd have access to advanced technology and knowledge, but you'd have to operate in secret, always staying one step ahead of those who would try to stop us. Another tremor shook the building, stronger this time. Dust rained down from the ceiling, and in the distance they could hear the sound of approaching vehicles. We're out of time, Lyra said urgently. What's your decision? Emma took a deep breath, looking at Jamie. He nodded, a determined set to his jaw. She turned back to Lyra. We're in. Tell us what we need to do. A look of relief washed over Lyra's face. Thank you, she said, reaching into her pocket and pulling out two small, metallic objects that looked like elaborate pendants. These are communication devices and data storage units. They contain everything you need to know to get started. Keep them hidden and safe at all times. As Emma and Jamie took the devices, the sound of footsteps echoed from the stairwell. Lyra's form began to shimmer, her human appearance fading to reveal a tall, slender being with iridescent skin and large, almond-shaped eyes. Remember, Lyra said, her voice taking on an otherworldly quality. Trust your instincts, question everything, and know that the fate of all existence now rests in your hands. We'll be in touch when it's safe. Now go. With a gesture of her elongated hand, a section of the wall slid open, revealing a hidden passage. This will lead you to safety. Hurry. Emma and Jamie didn't need to be told twice. They dashed into the passage, which sealed behind them, just as the door to the observatory burst open. Heart pounding, they raced through the dark tunnel, guided only by faint bioluminescent markings on the walls. This is insane, Jamie panted as they ran. Aliens, cosmic threats, secret passages, it's like we've stepped into a sci-fi movie. Emma clutched the alien device Lyra had given her, feeling its weight and the enormous responsibility it represented. Movie or not, this is our reality now, she replied grimly. We have to figure out our next move. After what felt like an eternity, the passage opened up into a small clearing in the woods behind the observatory. As they caught their breath, the gravity of their situation began to sink in. So Jamie said, breaking the silence, we're now part of an intergalactic resistance movement. What exactly does that entail? Emma shook her head, still trying to process everything. I guess we start by examining these devices Lyra gave us. They're supposed to contain all the information we need. As if on cue, the pendants began to glow softly. Emma and Jamie exchanged nervous glances before activating them. A holographic display sprang to life, floating in the air between them. Greetings, Earth allies, a computerized voice intoned. This data package contains your initial mission briefing and basic training modules. Your primary objectives are as follows. 1. Identify and recruit other potential human allies. 2. Gather intelligence on the Void's approach. 3. Sabotage any efforts by corrupted hybrid leaders to hinder Earth's preparations. As the voice continued outlining their mission, Emma and Jamie listened in stunned silence. The enormity of the task before them was overwhelming. How are we supposed to do all this? Jamie whispered. We're just two teenagers. Emma squared her shoulders, a determined glint in her eye. We may be young, but we've already uncovered a global conspiracy. If Lyra and the others believe in us, then we have to believe in ourselves. Over the next few weeks, Emma and Jamie threw themselves into their new roles as Earth's secret defenders. They pored over the alien data, learning about advanced technologies, cosmic geography, and the history of the conflict with the Void. They also began to subtly test their classmates and acquaintances, looking for signs of heightened awareness or suspicion about the true nature of world events. It was a delicate balance. They needed to find allies without exposing themselves to potential enemies. Their first breakthrough came in the form of Malik Sharma, a brilliant but reclusive student in their advanced physics class. Emma had noticed him scribbling complex equations in the margins of his notebook, equations that looked suspiciously similar to some of the alien mathematical concepts they had been studying. After class one day, Emma approached Malik cautiously. "Those are some interesting formulas you're working on," she said casually. "Unified field theory." Malik's eyes widened in surprise. You understand this?" Emma smiled enigmatically. "Let's just say I have a unique perspective on the subject. Want to grab coffee and discuss it further?" As they talked, it became clear that Malik had independently stumbled upon some of the same cosmic truths that Emma and Jamie were now privy to. His brilliant mind had allowed him to make intuitive leaps that aligned perfectly with the alien science they were learning. By the end of their conversation, Emma was convinced that Malik would be a valuable addition to their team. With Jamie's agreement, they decided to bring him into the fold. Meanwhile, Jamie had been focusing on the technology aspect of their mission. He had always been a skilled hacker, but with the knowledge from the alien database, his abilities were reaching new heights. He managed to infiltrate several government networks, searching for any information related to the void or preparations for a cosmic threat. What he found was disturbing. There were indeed classified projects aimed at developing advanced weapons and defense systems, but they seemed woefully inadequate compared to the scale of the threat they now knew was coming. Even more concerning, Jamie uncovered evidence of infighting and sabotage within these programs, clear signs that some of the corrupted hybrid leaders were actively working against Earth's interests. As Emma and Jamie's network slowly grew, so did the challenges they faced. They had to constantly watch their backs, aware that both alien and human forces might be monitoring them. They developed code words and secure communication channels, always staying one step ahead of potential discovery. One night, as they were meeting in a secluded park to discuss their progress, Emma noticed a strange shimmer in the air nearby. Acting on instinct, she tackled Jamie to the ground just as a bolt of energy sizzled through the space where they had been standing. "We've got company," Emma shouted as they scrambled for cover behind a large oak tree. Three figures emerged from the shadows, their skin rippling in a now familiar way that revealed their alien nature. "Surrender, humans," one of them growled. "Your interference in our plans ends now." Jamie pulled out a small device they had cobbled together from alien tech and human components. "I don't think so," he said, activating it with a grin. A high-pitched whine filled the air, and the alien attackers clutched their heads in pain. Taking advantage of their disorientation, Emma and Jamie made a run for it, disappearing into the maze-like streets of the city. As they caught their breath in a dimly lit alley, Emma turned to Jamie with a mix of excitement and fear in her eyes. "They're onto us," she said. "But that means we're making a difference. We're actually throwing a wrench in their plans." Jamie nodded, his expression serious. "Yeah, but it also means we need to step up our game. We can't keep playing defense, it's time to take the fight to them." Emma agreed, her mind already racing with possibilities. "We need to find a way to expose the truth to the world, but in a way that can't be dismissed or covered up. Something so big, so undeniable, that it will unite humanity against the real threat." As they brainstormed their next move, neither Emma nor Jamie realized that they were being watched. High above the city, cloaked in advanced stealth technology, a ship hovered silently. Inside, Lyra observed the young humans with a mixture of pride and concern. "They show great promise," she said to her companion, a towering being of swirling energy. "But I fear we may have placed too heavy a burden on such young shoulders." The energy being pulsed in response, its thoughts resonating in Lyra's mind. Perhaps it communicated. "But it is often the young who possess the vision and courage to change the course of history. We must have faith in them, for they may be our last hope against the void." Back on the ground, Emma and Jamie had come to a decision. They would infiltrate the upcoming Global Unity Summit, a gathering of world leaders that they now knew was a cover for a major meeting of the alien hybrids. If they could expose the truth there, with the eyes of the world watching, it might be enough to shatter the veil of secrecy and unite humanity against the coming threat. As they began to plan their most daring mission yet, Emma felt a strange mix of fear and exhilaration. In just a few short months, her life had transformed from that of an ordinary teenager to a key player in a cosmic drama. The fate of not just Earth, but potentially the entire universe, now rested in part on her shoulders. She looked at Jamie, saw the same determination reflected in his eyes, and knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. The truth was out there, and they were going to make sure the whole world knew it before it was too late.